I wondered what Jim Jim were reading, and he told me that was a science fiction novel that he found in a bookstore. Um, the cover intrigued intrigued him, uh, so he bought it, and then he couldn't put it down. But I never cared much for sci-fi. It always seemed too far-fetched to my taste. But Jim didn't think so. He believed that some of it was pretty crazy, but still a lot of it was pretty good at predicting uh, predicting what might happen in the future and warning us of the consequences if we weren't careful. And I told him that I was pretty skeptical about that climb, and I wanted him to give me just one example of it. And um, Tim answered me that it was George Orwell, George Orwell, Orwell, George Orwell, uh, 1984. But um, but I thought it was wrong because that didn't happen. 1984 came and went, and no one of the predictions turned out to be true.
Excellent, huh? Only one word, huh? Perfect. And some of them, right? Some of them.
I told my husband that I couldn't take it anymore, and I asked him that why didn't he discipline our son some of the time. He, my son was getting to be more than I can handle, than I could handle. And my husband wondered what did he done this that time. And I said that whenever I told him to do something, he either just ignored me or did the opposite. And my husband said that I needed to be consistent. I couldn't punish him for something of part of the time and let him get what get away with it in the rest of the time. He needed to know what the rules were and what would happen if and what would happen if he broke them. But I didn't want my son to hate me all the time while he adored my husband because I was the only one who held him accountable for his actions. And my husband said maybe we could figure out some way to deal with the situation where it didn't all have to fall on my shoulder.
Right.
Last night I was watching TV, and then Susan turned up my TV So I asked her that why did she turn off the TV because the news wasn't over yet. And she said she just couldn't take it anymore. What was our society becoming? And on on her saw on her on her saw was more crime and violence every day. It didn't used to be this way, but I thought it was just the media focusing on sensational news stories. Uh, Basically, I didn't think things have really changed much. Uh, we should we we should pay more attention to some aspects of life than we used to. But Susan thought that I was being far too different in order to solve the problem. First, I needed to be aware of it, and then I needed to take effective action. And uh, and I asked her what would she suggest me. Then she said it was time that we stopped slapping on their wrist and put some real fear into their hearts. If they got caught, if they got caught breaking the law, they should know they would be
Really
serious.
serious.
Tim asked me, did I ever got a telegram? And I told him that only once. It was scared to open it. I was sure it was a bad news. A bad. It was a bad news, like somebody dying or something. And Jim wanted to know what it was, and I said it was a message congratulating me for some good work I'd done. The message was a very short and planned, but I would never forget getting it. And he thought that was interesting because he had a similar experience when he turned 21. A lot of his friends called him, and several of them sent him cards. But he saved the handwritten letters he got, and he still read them from time to time. And I said it was amazing how much more important things like this seem if the people who sent them take the time uh the people who sent them take the time to took the time to make them personal.
Really.
It I said
That's
to David that um I heard a terrible sounding cough, and he told me that I didn't have to worry. It would go away as soon as he had a smoke, and he asked me if he could borrow one of mine, and I said yes, and I gave it to him. But I noticed that his fingers were really yellow. And he said that he hadn't noticed. Um, it it might be that light, and he asked me that if I had a match, and I gave it to him. But I wonder that how did he get those holes in his blouse? And he answered me that that was just from some acid that fell on it, but it was an old blouse, and he hardly ever wore it anyway. And he asked me if I wanted to see a movie. Then I said yeah. I said yes. So um, he wanted me to wait so so he could brush his teeth first, and he made sure that um, he had a hard time getting rid of all this like flake flake. And of course I knew what it meant, because I was in the same situation, and I also was uh, always worried about my breath. Um, I wondered who was muffing, and David uh, didn't know what didn't know who I mentioned. Uh, and I said to him that muffin in Murphy's law, and he still had no idea about what I said. But I thought that everyone knew that, and he said he he was not everyone. Đợi em chút, em thay cái tai nghe cái. So I had to explain to him that um, if anything could go wrong, it would. And now he could uh, understand what I just said. He knew that, um, and it just slipped his mind. And I said that there was there was even an addendum to it, and um, he agreed with me, and he said, and at the worst possible time. And I replied to him that he did know it after all, but I still wanted to know who Murphy it was. And he answered me that Murphy was just a made up person. He guessed. Murphy it was just a common Irish name that was sort of funny to say to say.
Excellent.